Hi, I'm Mike Serazio. I'm a professor in the communication department, and I'm delighted to be on Modcast.
Hi, it's Molly. Welcome to my mod. This is Modcast, the show where I highlight current and past eags who make waves on and off the heights. Come on in.
Hi, welcome to Modcast. Thank you so much for coming on today. I'm so excited. I think the best way to get a good read on a guest is not only by having you describe yourself, but having your peers describe you. So I took the liberty of talking to some of your colleagues and past students, and here's what they had to say about you. So, from your colleagues, he's a beloved figure in the communication department, admired for his boundless energy, enthusiasm, and genuine kindness. He's a unifier who is always cheerful, helpful, and inspiring. Beyond his stellar research, beautiful writing, and excellent teaching, he stands out as someone everyone wants to work with, thanks to his generosity and care for those around him. His passion for Boston College, his colleagues, and his students brightens the department, much like his big grin and impeccable sense of style. Now, from your students, he is a rare talent for sparking genuine excitement about learning and creating an engaging classroom experience that inspires students beyond grades or careers. His intentional teaching style fosters critical thinking and makes even early morning lectures something to look forward to. I can attest to that. We feel fortunate to learn from someone who genuinely cares about our growth and have never enjoyed writing essays as much as in his class. He deserves the absolute best, which might look like him experiencing collective effervescence with his fellow San Diego fans someday. Okay, so after hearing these descriptions...
That is an excellent way to butter up an interviewee with some
Exactly.
kind words. Thank you for that.
Of course. How well do you think these descriptions align with your character? I want to know, after hearing that, what do you take pride in the most?
Oh gosh, I mean, when I hear those generous descriptions from the lovely people who I get to spend time with on campus, my initial reaction is that I'm very undeserving of those kind words. And I think for me, the two words that I've always tried to hold on to in life is gratitude and humility. I think that you can do a lot worse than if you try to cling to those two ideals. I have a ton of quotes up on my wall. Students who've come to my office know this. But the one that's the highest on the wall that I look at when I'm looking off to the side from my desk and toward the window is a quote that says, "There but for the grace of God go I." And it's this notion that alternative fates were always possible, and I just got really, really lucky that this was the one that personally and professionally I landed on as a path. And I try to just constantly go through my day thinking like, well, this is great. It could have gone differently. I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah.
So
I love that a lot. Is there anyone who shaped the way you think in that way?
yeah, I mean, it's not a very original or surprising answer, but it's the four people that are most important to me in the world. So it's my parents, it's my wife, and my daughter. At different times and from different angles, they've absolutely sort of informed and shaped my character and inspired me and challenged me. And I think however I appear in the world is a product of what they've helped me to become.
I love that a lot. Your daughter's name is Lucy, right?
She is. Good memory.
So you talk about her a lot in your classes.
I do.
And I'm a firm believer that you can learn a lot from people younger than you. Thinking about her specifically, is there anything you think she teaches you like on a daily basis?
What do I learn from my daughter? I learn, this is going to get cheesy and sentimental for a second, but that's
what it's all
just
about.
what it is for me and my daughter. I learned to experience a sense of joy in a relationship that I could never imagine, an innocence and a good-heartedness that I can try to replicate myself. I've learned a lot about gymnastics. Like, she's really into gymnastics. And I mean, a million tiny things like that. Like, we've forever like been pushing music on her, but she's starting to push music back our way, which is
what does she make you
super
listen
cool.
to?
Well, we seem to, her Taylor Swift era is not abating per se, but I think it may have plateaued, right?
Yeah,
like
it
it's
happens.
Yeah, I mean, like for a while she was like making me she would like make up quizzes about Taylor's various albums, and I would have to give her those quizzes and like answer them as well, even though my Swiftie credentials are dilettantes.
Okay, so for our viewers who might not be familiar, what is the material you're covering in your courses that you teach here?
The object of my fascination is the media. Anything and everything having to do with the media, I find just completely entrancing. I'm particularly interested in the power of the media, the power to shape our ideas, the power to influence our politics, our knowledge about the world, the power of the media to influence what we buy, the power of the media to condition who we're friends with. And so I teach a variety of classes in the spring. Each semester, I usually teach a class called Media Theory, which you took, and Antisocial Media, which is sort of about, that latter class is all about getting students to reflect on the social, emotional, and psychological consequences of living constantly with technology and social media. I teach a class about sports media and culture because that's another abiding fascination. And I teach a class called News Media and Democracy, which is all about kind of journalism and politics.
Nice. I wanted to get into that anti-social media one so bad. Lord knows I need it. But we can't talk about social media without acknowledging the TikTok ban. I want to know your thoughts on this, and then I'll share mine.
Yeah, no, and I'm eager to hear your thoughts, and I've been eager to hear all my students reflect on it. So many things can be true at once. That's a cliche, but it bears repeating. On one hand, I think that there's positives that TikTok has brought to the world. It's unleashed terrific creativity from all corners of life and all places. And it's certainly underpinned a burgeoning creator economy, depending on how you want to calculate it. Usually I hear between $20 and $25 billion is what the influencer industry's value. Yeah. And TikTok is essential to that. Also, at the same time, the main problem I suppose I critique TikTok for is that its algorithm is extremely good at one particular thing, which is giving you more of what you already like. It is a content graph based algorithm as opposed to a social graph. So it doesn't matter if you have a lot of followers. It's more about the content itself. Does this look like what you enjoyed sitting and watching before? And so that, I think, has an effect on people to sort of reduce their potential curiosity. The specifics of the ban. There's a healthy debate about this ban. Being a former journalist, my sympathies usually lie with free speech and free expression. I don't think that the app should have been banned. I mean, obviously, national security concerns are well above my pay grade, but national security concerns are always and forever cited as a reason to not publish journalistic content, or in this case, allow TikTok to continue. The two main things that they are worried about with TikTok is, one, that the data that TikTok has access to on our phones could be used in some sort of nefarious way. That may be true, but that's not any more true than any of the other major social media companies' ability to access data that we populate. Secondly, they're worried about, could the Chinese government somehow influence the algorithm to show some sort of propagandistic content? And to that second one, I say, that's the price of doing business in a sort of free market of ideas, And so I think that it shouldn't have been banned. I also think that President Trump ignoring the congressional law and the Supreme Court upholding that law feels like it may be unconstitutional. But all this is up in the air. I'm curious what your take on it is.
I think it's good. I think it's good for me. I agree with
the ban is good?
I think the ban is good for me. I think that I didn't realize how much of an addiction it was. Like I was self-aware about it, but in practice. So like I keep hitting something on my phone that my brain is quite literally like craving, and I'm catching myself doing that like 15 plus times a day. I was getting like borderline disgusted with myself, and I ended up deleting it after like a full day of trying. Okay, so when the ban was up and you could re-download it, I couldn't. So now it's completely off my phone, and I'm loving it so far. The only thing is like I'm starting to creep into Reels territory, which is
just a substitution.
It's just a substitution, but I have like a limit set on that, so hopefully it's not as bad. But I think it's good. As someone who does a lot of video stuff and like gets a lot of joy in it, I'm starting to realize how much of my life doesn't actually need to be documented because it's gone. So like I'll catch my roommates and I will be like in the kitchen. We're like, let's make this. It's like, oh, we got to make a TikTok. And I'm like, oh, we don't, and I can't. And it's a good thing that I can't. And I think that especially because it's like my senior spring, I'm going to get a lot of time back and be able to enjoy myself here a little. So whether or not you have it or don't have it, I think being self-aware and monitoring yourself and being like, how am I benefiting from this really? And what am I missing out on? Because that's really the cost of it. And I want to ask you, do you think it will or maybe even should be around in like a year from now? Like,
I think it will be around. And if it is not, I think that either it will have been bought by another company or it will have been replaced, as you say, by Reels or YouTube Shorts or something like that, right? Like the underlying structure of the format, I don't think is going away. Whether TikTok, as owned by ByteDance, is the delivery vehicle for that is maybe up for grabs. But for your sake, I hope it's gone. Yeah. Your instinct towards self-awareness.
Yeah.
And trying to prioritize your own attention as the attention is being colonized by TikTok or any other app is a really smart one. It's also an uphill battle.
Yeah.
These are supercomputers that have been designed with the most cutting edge technology to take advantage of psychological mechanisms that make it very difficult for us to keep our eyes off what they're selling us.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's really hard. But nonetheless, you can do it. Yeah. And you are going to do it.
I'm trying.
And you should keep that fight. Fight the good fight.
I'm playing like pickup basketball now.
Awesome.
Like, I'm reading more. It's only been a week or so.
Awesome.
But still.
Keep at it.
Exactly. So when I was enrolled in your class, my final paper was actually about this. So I wrote a paper on doom scrolling. And for those who don't know, that's just like the rapid consumption of short form media. And I want to know, and be really honest with yourself and our viewers here, if I gave you TikTok when you were in high school or college, how do you think you would use it, and do you think you'd be a different person because of it now?
Probably, almost assuredly. Yeah. One of the main lessons that I think high school and college tries to teach is habits of self-control, habits of focus, habits of attention. And something like TikTok would have assuredly hijacked my capacities across those dimensions. And I had also at that time in life been like interested in perhaps going like a, working in film or, media making. And we didn't have the capacity for that. Like we had like whatever, like old handheld video cameras, right?
Yeah.
And like there was more or less very early internet. You just didn't have a platform like that existed. So, I don't think it would have been very good for me if it had been around when I was late teen and early 20-something.
Do you let Lucy look on your phone? Do you want her using this stuff?
This is an ongoing conversation. We try to strike a balance of moderation as best as possible. She's not allowed on any social media platforms. We limit her screen time to a certain percentage of the day. It's not like blackout, like, and there are like, she's on like a Duolingo streak, like that's super cool, right? And like, she's, as I said, she's exploring the further reaches of the Spotify catalog, which is cool. Like, there's a lot of, I'm not a dystopian when it comes to social media and phone, technologies and stuff. I'm a skeptic, and I think that having moderation is necessary because these technologies work against our moderation, right? It's like you described before, like you're swiping, you're watching, and all of a sudden you're like, where the hell did an hour and a half go?
Yeah.
And that is how these devices are meant to operate. So we try to maintain some moderation in how we handle that at home.
Yeah, that's good. I can imagine there's probably some like social consequences if you were to like say no to everything. So
totally. I mean, just to take one example, texting, right?
Yeah.
So like, okay, let me throw this at you. How many texts do you feel like you send and receive per day?
I got a text wrap for the year, and I think for the year I sent 70,000.
Okay, so not a math expert, but that's a lot per day, right?
Lot.
Yeah, and so Lucy does as well, right? And like, that's how she stays up with her friends because her friends live all over the city, and it's like if she's gonna stay in contact with them, that's like how it has to happen. So. I mean, that's way more than I send, but that's a generational thing, right? And like, and I used to be, there was, 10, 15, 20 years ago, adults would be scandalized by the volume of text messages sent. But now that I have a kid and I realize like that's how she connects with her friends because they can't be physically proximity around each other. That's like the only way to do it, and that's better than nothing.
Besides teaching, you're also involved in Arupe. Can you give a rundown of what that program is for our viewers?
Totally. It is also by far one of the most meaningful experiences I've had. So I've now been a faculty co-leader on 2 different Arupe trips, one 6 or 7 years ago to Guatemala, one just last January to Ecuador. This is a program that's run through campus ministry. It is a program that is designed to put students in contact with experiences around the world, mostly in Latin America, and to try to understand the lived realities of poverty and politics and strife and various global issues. And so it's a learning immersion program that takes place in country for about a week, depending on which location you wind up at. But leading up to that, you have weekly meetings, 2 hours a week, to build that community of the group that's going from BC, to learn more about the place that you're headed. And then in the aftermath of the trip, you have meetings as well to think about sort of what you're going to do with that knowledge and that experience. It is, as I said, by far a highlight for the experiences, because it's one of the spaces in which I feel like I've gotten to know my students best, I mean, I get to know you in class and, we have those occasions together, but it's in the space of accompaniment, right? Me accompanying my students, the students learning how to accompany the lives of folks around the world who come in from often far less privileged backgrounds than they do. That's where you really get to know somebody, and that's what makes it so meaningful.
I love it. Circling back to the phone talk, when they're on these trips, do they have their phones? Do they not have their phones?
No, we kind of give them up upon arriving in country, and then they get them back when we take off. It's so important. Yeah.
Did you notice any like big shifts, whether like for a certain individual or as a group? How did like the dynamic change because the phones were gone?
Hugely. It's so vital. It creates a space of being centered. It creates a space where your attention is not occupied somewhere else. For me, that wound up modeling a dramatic change that I wound up making as a teacher. So pre-COVID, pre-pandemic, I had a very laid-back attitude about phones and technology in the classroom. I was just like, do whatever, I don't care. And then when the pandemic hit and we had a year where we couldn't actually be in person with each other and we had to have screens between us, I realized that part of what I can offer students is a tech Sabbath. Students really, I think, want a tech Sabbath. Yeah. I think students really want someone to give them license to not have to be on their phone all the time.
I can attest to that 100%.
Right?
Anytime I get a syllabus and I see it, I'm like, oh, but then I really think about it, I'm like, thank God.
Yes.
Because I can't help it. I have no self-control. So, like, for a fact that if there are a bunch of, laptops, no one's staying on a Google Doc.
100%.
And it's so difficult. Like, it's the way technology is set up. Like, we're not meant to just stay on one thing. We can't keep our attention anywhere. So, like, when teachers are, like, absolutely not, it's seriously, like, it's a blessing.
Yeah. I try to frame it that way for students, because whether it be the week in the Arupe trips where we're without our phones, whether it be in my class where I ask sort of to not have technology out, that creates a space where you can just be alone with your thoughts and you can be alone with the other people, right? And technology really wants to get in the way of those two things. Technology wants to get in between you and your own thoughts, and technology wants to get in between you and the people that you care about.
Yeah.
And if I myself try to practice habits of tech Sabbath, and I did it. I mean, when Lucy was a little baby, I realized that, like, sometimes I consciously, a year or two into being a dad, realized that, like, sometimes I would be hanging out, playing, doing whatever, and I had my phone around me, and I was like, oh, hell no. Like, yeah. And so, like, at that point, very deliberately, I was like, all right, like, when I'm playing with Lucy, the phone is not in the room with me.
Obviously, I need help cutting down I need help, because TikTok is gone and it's still like 5 hours. It's like, I'm not getting that time back. Without telling me to, like, get up and go on a walk, what's your advice?
When you have that urge, take, like, a long breath. The optimal length of a breath is 5 seconds, 5.5 seconds to inhale, 5.5 seconds to exhale. So that's, like, roughly 10 seconds, 10, 11 seconds.
Yeah.
Just, like, give yourself a 10-second breath, right? And try to make sense of whatever urge you have that will be satisfied if you pick up your phone or if you use your phone in some way, right? And I'm saying, again, if that urge is not deliberate, if it's not necessary, like if you need to get like directions, like use your phone. If you need to like, like text your friends back, you use your phone. But like if you find yourself just sitting there and you have the urge to like do something with your phone, just like pause and just breathe and try to think about nothing but your own breathing. And then see if you still have that urge afterwards. Like be aware of that urge. Like let it sort of float through your mind, right? Like a balloon. But like a balloon, try to let it go,
Yeah, exactly.
That's a starting point.
I think a lot of it too is just like it's like a muscle like reaction almost. Like I'm just so like trained.
Totally.
Where it's like I know the urge is there. I like do it, and that moment, that kind of like pause, do I need this, comes like after. I'll open it. This morning I did it and it was like 3 seconds into it and I was like, okay, like off. I have to like remove my phone. Like I'll put it downstairs. I'll go upstairs.
It's just habit.
Yeah.
It's just habit. Most habits are unconscious, and what you need to build up is the muscle. You need to build up the muscle of attention, because these devices assault that muscle and try to atrophy it.
Yeah, exactly. So in 2023, you released a book titled The Authenticity Industries, where you discuss a widespread yearning for authenticity in people, products, companies. So is it possible for anyone, in your opinion, to truly be authentic online?
When we project ourselves through media, that inherently works against some feeling of authenticity that we might have.
Okay.
So the more time that someone spends living through the media, and by that I mean posting Instagram photos, shooting off, Twitter/X message, postings. The more time that you spend doing that, the more that works against some sense of inherent authenticity, because the media basically functions inversely sort of correlated or proportional to like our sense of authenticity in the world. And it's my belief, and actually I'll throw this question back to you, because anytime you get a good hard question to ask, you should always throw it back to the interviewer.
Fair enough.
The relationships that you feel are most authentic in your life, I would suspect, and I'm going to see if you can correct me on this, are also the ones that probably you spend the least amount of time having a screen between you and that other person.
100%.
Right? Like the people that you care most about, that you are strongest connected to, you probably like are just in person, or at the very least like using your voice over the phone or things like that. Like you're least connected to those people via Snapchat or Insta or TikTok, whatever, YouTube, right? Yeah. So if that's the case, then that says that like the more we can kind of remove ourselves from those contexts, the more authenticity we'll have. So there is something inherent about being online that is inauthentic.
Yeah, I can attest to that 100%. I would say that there's some friends here that I don't get to see as often that I've known since freshman year, and we text most of the time. Maybe we meet up like once every like 2 weeks. When I went abroad, I did a 1-month program in Melbourne. The group there, we're not on our phones. Like I am 10 times closer with them, just objectively, and that's like 1 month versus like over 3 years. So that makes me think about that a lot.
That's awesome. Were you on Professor Wells?
Yeah, I was just going to plug it.
She's the queen.
She's my favorite person ever. That was a great trip. What have you learned about yourself through your students and during your time here?
Tremendous sense of gratitude. I don't know how I got lucky enough to hit the jackpot in life, that like this is my job in this place at this institution with these people I surround myself and my family and my friends. And I don't know if like this is like good karma for like some previous life, or like I'm gonna owe some serious karma for the next one or whatever. But I think that without a doubt that the most meaningful parts of this job are when I get to talk to my students about their life and what they want to do with it. Like I love when a student wants to chat about like what they want to do with their life. Not like what class they're going to take, or like not like how to study for my next test, or not like what job they're hoping to get right out of college, but like to truly get a sense of like what motivates them, where they find joy, where they find meaning, how they feel called to be in the world. Like that's just amazing. Like that's the most, and then, to get to see students and how they go off and, how they live their lives and who they become. Like that's it. That's the most gratifying part of this job. And I think that now I'm about 10 years having been at Boston College, that is the thing that forever gratifies the most.
Amazing. I think a lot of people, and like myself included, are really scared to have those conversations. I think that they don't realize that professors are like you are interested in having those conversations. Like, what do you have to say to people who are a little nervous or like hesitant?
My door is always open, and I would say the overwhelming majority of other faculty that I know here are also here for that reason and also find that same sense of meaning and purpose by helping young people find their meaning and purpose. Like that's just really cool. Like it's kind of rare to work for a place that you really believe in. There's all kinds of jobs in the world. There's all kinds of companies, all kinds of industries, and to land at one where you just like truly believe in the mission, like deep in your bones, is again, it's a lottery ticket that I somehow cashed that I'll never take for granted.
Do you want to indulge in some rapid fire questions?
Let's do some rapid fire.
Rapid fire
Love
questions.
Love it.
What cartoon character would you say you're the most alike?
Goofy.
Love it.
Yeah.
Elphaba or Glinda?
Glinda.
Okay. Go-to karaoke song?
Oh, wow. Probably something by Hall & Oates. I'm probably going to go with Private Eyes.
What's something you always carry with you?
My chapstick. Chapstick in my right pocket, keys in my left.
Favorite late night snack?
Trader Joe's brand, Christmas time release, dark chocolate covered peppermint JoJo's.
Best advice you've ever been given?
I'll quote Tom Petty here. Most things I worry about never happen anyway.
Who's your role model?
My wife.
One word to encapsulate your time at BC.
Thank you. No, that's 2 words. Grateful.
Amazing. Well, that's all I had planned for the episode. But I just want to say how grateful I am that not only that you came on, but that I had you as a professor. I had such a nice time talking to people when I was, trying to like gather some quotes for today. And something that got brought up a lot was that a lot of your students carry your business card around with them, and that says on the back, all that we are arises with our thoughts, and it's going to be okay. Basically, for those who don't know, in that class, you gave like a very vulnerable TED Talk, just kind of about your life and some anxieties that you have, and talked about how by sharing, our truth with others and how our identity, emotions, and actions they're deeply influenced by our mindset. Like, mindset is everything, and I think others can attest to this. You're a very positive person, and you teach a lot of people on this campus like positivity. So I think you should take a lot of pride in the fact that people carry around a little piece of you with them, and they are also trying to make this community a better place. So we're very lucky to have you.
You're going to make me cry on a Monday afternoon.